Sakamoto days just reminded me of Baki. Now, to give you some context around what I just said, Baki the Grappler, a lot of people skip the initial two seasons and they jump right into the Netflix series. And the first arc for that is like these prison inmates who are let loose, and then all of the gang in Baki has to battle them and their shenanigans. And this new arc setup that they've got these four prison inmates that have escaped, and in this weird way, like the way they dropped it as well, they were like, oh, they've escaped, and you you see the way in which they escaped is representative of their powers, which is quite interesting because we have the big belligerent black dude, and I'm a big fan of big belligerent black dudes in anime. um, I mean, that's another thing in common with Baki. In Baki, we have a big black dude who's a snow bunny chaser who likes big, massive, fat snow bunnies. But anyway, we're going back to this. And we have him, and he can just squish things and make them small, like tiny. Like he took a burger and squished it into a tiny ball and ate it, which, ugh, that's so gross. I hate when people do that. Like they squish food, and like some people would have like. I remember there was this weird dude who used to have chocolate and he would like suck it until it was liquid and then play with it in his mouth. So that grossed me out when I thought about like how he squished the burger. And then he was able to squish a chair as well, a chair and a table into like a tiny bit of like metal, which he's obviously going to be Sakamoto's matchup in terms of fights, right? Because they're doing the whole shonen thing where you have four characters that are the bad guys, and obviously you can guess which four of the main guys are going to face each other, right? So we have him, and then we have like this shy guy who was scared of pickles. They have like a sexy black woman who's doing the whole sort of, you know the whole trend of where you have a black character but they have blonde hair. You know that trend. She's doing that. And then there was a sort of big guy reading manga. He seems chill. But again, in terms of the matchups, let's get to that. Sakamoto is obviously going to face the big black dude because he seems like he's got the main character energy. He was the one that was leading the charge. This is where it gets interesting. One of them was a shooter, you could tell, because like one of the people in the prison, they had like holes in them. Whoever the shooter is, which I'm guessing is the American guy with the manga. No, actually, probably not. I reckon the shooter is the guy with the pickles. The guy that didn't want the pickles in the burger, because he seems like he's scared of upfront confrontation. So it's either him or the American. Heisuke's gonna fight that guy. And then between the other two, I have no idea. It'll be funny. It'll be funny if Shin faces the black chick. That would be quite funny. Because I always like it when anime and manga when they just have those matchups where a dude's facing a chick, and then the dude's kind of reluctant at first to fight them. You know, like the whole Sanji sort of situation with Cauliflower and like how he is with like female fights in general. He just doesn't want to do it. I wonder if that dynamic will happen if it's Shin versus her. But I reckon what they might do, it might be Lu versus her, to be honest, because it makes sense, girl on girl. But we'll see what they do with that. But that's the end of the arc, right? We've got to talk about the actual arcs that were in these two episodes that I just watched, because essentially you could say they're some people would say filler arcs or whatever because they're more slow paced, sort of slice of life episodes, but these were probably most likely in the manga. It's just that these were more chill, laid back sort of arcs that built up to a bigger arc. So the first one was when they went to essentially a spa, but they said a bathhouse, and there was this guy that wanted to kill Shin and Sakamoto. Well, maybe mainly Sakamoto, and he was putting them through these rigorous trials because instead of a normal sauna, he would just rev up the heat to the max, like to where they're blazing. Literally, Shin's head is blazing with fire on it, and like he would do that or make the sort of bath like really cold to where it's freezing. And it's funny because Shin at first thought this was like almost like a training thing, like because he thinks everything is training or something like that. Because he glazes Sakamoto all the time, and that dude just went through it, man. He legit went through it. Like they were putting him all through all. They were just putting him through all sorts of heat torture and corners torture, and it was just painful to watch. And Sakamoto was just like literally like, oh, this is chill, like this is fine, this is perfect, relaxing. And I was just like, whoa. But it still gets me how strong he is, because the main guy, the main antagonist of this episode, he's this really low ranking assassin who was meant to take over his parents' business. But what happened is that he kind of failed at being an assassin. So right now he's working in the spa, and some guys start bullying him, and Sakamoto is just like not having any of it. So he takes like a ping pong ball and then smashes it into one of the guys' faces like so nonchalantly, and then like he finishes his popsicle or lollipop or whatever you want to call it. No, it was a popsicle because it was an ice lolly, right? And he just throws it and darts the guy to a vending machine, and it's just like this guy is absolutely brutal. But I would say that that sort of small arc, because it was half an episode, was really nice. And it's sort of like an alternative to a beach episode. You know, in anime and manga, they have the beach episode to calm things down after a big arc, because we just had the lab arc. I kind of liked it. It served the same purpose, and it was only half of the episode. And it was just great comedy. But then after that, we transitioned into a casino arc where we get introduced to someone that knows Lou, who's this really smart guy with a massive braid. And I like what they're doing in Sakamoto's days, in that these characters are getting a good bit of development. Like we've gotten like flashbacks, but they just didn't end it at flashbacks. We're also being introduced to other characters from their past. Like each one of them has had that, which is really cool. But besides Heisuke, he hasn't gotten that yet. Because Sakamoto had the other assassin guy, the really like nonchalant. He's nonchalant as well, the other assassin guy, and he talks a bit to Sakamoto as well. So it's cool that Lu and Shin have also had someone from their past show up, and hopefully Heisuke gets the same thing, because I would like to see him get more some more development. I would say right now, like typically in shows, my favorite character will be the main character, but for this, I would say Heisuke is my favorite at the moment because he just makes me laugh. So I want to see him get some more development, which we'll probably see in this arc, because each one of them is going to get a really major fight. So the casino arc was pretty interesting, because obviously when you have Shin as a mind reader in these games, like game type scenarios, he's always going to have an advantage. But we actually got to see him have a foil, because his name is escaping me. The guy with the really long braided hair, right? That is Lou's friend, but he kind of fancies the socks off of her. You know, like every time he sees her, he nosebleeds, which was ridiculous. That was like a Sanji level nosebleed. Like, dude, just like a fountain of blood, kind of like jizz, just came out of his nose when she was saying something. I was like, dude, you've actually got major issues, dude. You need to check that out. But anyway, like he is incredibly intelligent. He doesn't fight. He doesn't have any. He's not the brawn of the opposite operation. He's the brains, which kind of makes it so that people resent him in the mafia world, because they're all about power. So he was kind of ostracized, but the one person who looked out for him and liked him was Lou. So he developed little feelings for her and whatever, right? But he's interesting to me because he provides this foil, like I said, to Shin, in that his depth of thinking is so complex. And he's like, there are 3 levels to thinking. And I was like, oh, holy, that was crazy. I was like, whoa, is that true? And he was just thinking about such complex things, like just roaming through his mind, that Shin was just like, I can't comprehend, and then shut off and just completely he just completely went blank, which I thought was quite interesting, because I didn't think anyone would be able to be a foil for him, because even Sakamoto, like again, Sakamoto, like you'd think almost that, nah, maybe not, but what I'm alluding to is that because Sakamoto is so skilled, maybe he would have developed a way of not thinking clearly or jumbling up his thoughts, but he's not like that giga brain sort of person. He's very skilled and he's clever, don't get me wrong, and quick thinking, but he's not like a giga brained, like sort of very, very high IQ, very, very knowledgeable person like this guy is. So it makes sense. But overall, that arc they win because basically the dudes on his side kind of betrayed him. They were like, dude, you're not going to win this game. We're going to pull out our guns. And then he tricks them and then they get beaten up. But he reveals some very important information about this guy called Slur. Now, Slur was the guy we saw at the end of the lab arc. And at the end of the lab arc, that legit did. I didn't mention this in yesterday's video, but that legit did scare me when I saw Shin walk past Slur, and then he saw like he in his mind, because he's able to mind read, the murderous intent that that guy had just gave him shivers, and I was like, whoa, that legit made me scared. Like I actually watched some pretty scary animes yesterday. Well, this wasn't a Sakamoto Days isn't scary, but that did kind of give me chills. But the legit scary anime that I did watch was Rohan's Side Stories. Like it's a 4 episode miniseries. That stuff is crazy, man. I should have done a video on that, like a written video on that. Or maybe I will, because episode 2 of that series is insane. But anyway, we've got a hint for Slur, and then we've got these new 4 characters that have shown up. So I can't wait to see what happens next. There's 3 more episodes that I need to watch, which will probably be tomorrow's video. And then from then on, I will be doing weekly Sakamoto Day videos, kind of in the style of my Dan videos that I was doing before. I don't know when Sakamoto Days comes out. I think it probably comes out on Saturdays or Fridays. I don't know. But once a week I'll do one of those. And then Dan's coming as well, guys. I will be doing Dan videos as well. I just wanted to get Sakamoto Days, get caught up to it, and then boom. And then Dan I will be doing videos. Proper videos though, not like just like rambling ones. These are proper videos anyway. They are, because yesterday's video did better than my Code Geass video, which I was really shocked with. I was like, whoa, you guys like me just talking like this versus me editing for that long. I was like, whoa. So I was happy with that. So I will do written videos for the Dan videos. For the Dan episodes I need to catch up on, which is from episode 3 to current. The first 2 episodes, I'll do those later when I do a massive compilation for Dan season 2. But anyway, that's just to say that I'm catching up to Sakamoto Days. I like it. I wonder if this arc has already wrapped up because there's been 3 episodes. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. So we'll find out tomorrow and I'll tell you guys then. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Live and learn, good luck, and God bless. Bye.